Hi my dear students, our new topic is activity planning. The last sessions were mainly regarded with effort estimation, software effort estimation techniques. We already discussed various types of software estimations, various software estimation techniques in the previous classes. Here we are going to start a new set of or a new topic, activity planning. Activity planning. In the activity planning, the various topics to be covered are the objectives of activity planning, when to plan, project schedules, projects and activities, sequencing and scheduling activities, network planning models, formulating a network model, adding a time dimension. According to our syllabus, we have to cover all these topics, and in this slide or in this video, I am giving importance to the objectives of activity planning and when to plan. Here I am giving, or here I am mainly discussing and explaining what is meant by an activity planning, what are the objectives of activity planning, when we have to plan. We looked at methods for forecasting the software effort or the effort required for a project, both for the project as a whole and for individual activities. A detailed plan for the project, however, must also include a schedule indicating the start and end of each activity, or indicating the start and the completion time for each activity. This will enable us to ensure that the appropriate resources will be available precisely when required. Then second one, avoid different activities competing for the same resources at the same time. The next third one, produce a detailed schedule showing which staff carry out each activity. And fourth one, produce a detailed plan against which actual achievement may be measured. The next fifth one, produce a timed cash flow forecast. Cash flow forecast. Then replan the project during its life to correct drift from the target. To be effective, a plan must be stated as a set of targets. The achievement or non-achievement of which can be unambiguously measured. The activity plan provides a target start and completion date for each activity. The start and completions of activities must be clearly visible, and this is one of the reasons why it is advisable to ensure that each and every project activity produces some tangible product or some tangible deliverable. Monitoring the project's process, the progress of a project is then a case of ensuring that the products of each activity are delivered on time. As the project progresses, everything will go according to plan. It is unlikely that everything will go according to plan. Much of the job of project management concerns recognizing when something has gone wrong, identify its causes, revise the plan to mitigate its effect. The activity plan should provide a means of evaluating the consequences of not meeting any of the activity target dates and guidance as to how the plan might most effectively be modified to bring back the project to the target. So in the introductory part, we shall see that the activity plan may well also offer guidance as to which components of a project should be most closely monitored. The various objectives of activity planning. In addition to providing project and resource schedules, activity planning aims to achieve a number of other objectives, which may be summarized as follows. The first one is feasibility assessment. Feasibility assessment. Is the project possible within required timescales? Whether the project is possible within required resource constraints. It is not until we have constructed a detailed plan that we can forecast a completion date with any reasonable knowledge of its achievability. The fact that a project may have been estimated as requiring 2 work years effort might not mean that it would be feasible to complete it within, say, 3 months, or 8 people to work on it. That will depend upon the availability of staff and the degree to which activities may be undertaken in parallel. The next objective is resource allocation. What are the most effective ways of allocating resources to the project? When should the resources be available? The project plan allows us to investigate the relationship between timescales and resource availability. Allocating additional resources to a project shortens its duration and the efficiency of additional spending on resource procurement. The next objective is detailed costing. Detailed costing. How much will the project cost? When that expenditure is likely to take place? After producing an activity plan and allocating specific resources, we can obtain more detailed estimates of cost and their timing. The next one is motivation. Motivation. Providing targets and being seen to monitor achievement against targets is an effective way of motivating staff, particularly where they have been involved in setting those targets in the first place. The next objective is coordination. When do the staff in different departments need to be available to work on a particular project, and when do staff need to be transferred between projects? The project plan, particularly with large projects involving more than a single project team, provides an effective vehicle for communication, an effective vehicle for coordination among different teams. In situations where staff may need to be transferred between project teams or work concurrently on one or more projects, a set of integrated project schedules should ensure that such staff are available when required and do not suffer periods of enforced idleness. So these are the various objectives of activity planning: feasibility assessment, resource allocation, detailed cost, motivation, and coordination. Then Next area is when to plan. When to plan. So through the introduction and objectives, activity planning and scheduling techniques place an emphasis on completing the project in a minimum time at an acceptable cost, or alternatively meeting an arbitrarily set target date at minimum cost. One effective way of shortening project duration is to carry out activities in parallel. Clearly, we cannot undertake all the activities at the same time. Some require the completion of others before they can start, and there are likely to be resource constraints limiting how much may be done simultaneously. Activity scheduling will give us an indication of the cost of these constraints in terms of lengthening timescales and provide us with an indication of how timescales may be shortened by relaxing those constraints. It is up to us if we try relaxing precedence constraints by allowing a program coding task to commence before the designing has completed. For example, to ensure that we are clear about the potential effects on product quality. Planning is an ongoing process of refinement. Each iteration becoming more detailed and more accurate than the last one or the previous one. Over successive iterations, the emphasis and purpose of planning will shift. During the feasibility assessment and project startup, the main purpose of planning will be to estimate timescales and the risk of not achieving target completion dates or keeping within budget. The main purpose of planning is to estimate the timescale, estimate the risk of not achieving target completion date, or to estimate the risk of not keeping within budget. As the project proceeds beyond the feasibility study, the emphasis will be placed upon the production of activity plans for ensuring resource availability and cash flow control. After feasibility study, after feasibility assessment, the project proceeds beyond the feasibility study. The emphasis will be placed upon the production of activity plans for ensuring resource availability and cash flow control. Throughout the project, until the final product or final deliverable has reached the customer, monitoring and replanning must continue to correct any drift that might prevent meeting time or cost target. From the starting to end, the whole project, throughout the whole project, until it reaches the customer side, the final deliverable or final product has reached the customer. Monitoring and replanning must continue. For what purpose? To correct any drift that might prevent meeting the time target or the cost target. In the first part, we mainly discussed three topics. An introduction about an activity plan. What is meant by an activity plan, or what is the importance of introduction of importance of activity plan. Then objectives, what are the main objectives of activity? Why activity planning should be done? And when to plan, or when the activity planning has performed. Okay, thank you.